Welcome to a new tutorial. I will show you how to create a textured circle with Line Renderer and how you can place objects along that circle. I have created a new 2D project and imported some textures. These textures I got from Jonah, my colleague at KG Interactive. Check out his channel, especially if you're learning Unreal Engine. I have textures for the beam, the left and right cog, and the rope. For the beam and the rope, I've changed the mesh type to full rect. Otherwise, they have the default settings for sprites. Let's begin with the circle. So we need a new C# script. I'm going to call it circle. So we are going to build our circle from a line renderer. So let's make sure the component has one. We also need to know the vertex count. The more vertices we have, the smoother the circle will be. So default value 40. If we have 4 vertices, it will be a square. We also want to know the width of our line. And the radius. We can change the value of the radius to fill the screen instead. Then we will recalculate the radius to fit the screen. In Awake, we get our line renderer component. And we also want to have a preview of the circle in the editor. So let's begin with that. This means that the onDraw gizmos will only run in editor. we add +1 to connect the gaps, the end position and the start position. And we draw a line between all the points in the circle. So let's save this and over to Unity. Let's create our game object. Add our component. And now we see the preview of the circle. Let's change this so we actually use the vertex count instead. Now we're going to build the circle, and we only need to do this once in a wake, unless we want to change the circle mid-game. We will be creating a method calling setup circle. We will start by setting the width. If we want to fill the screen with our circle, we need to calculate the radius. And then, just like the preview, we calculate our points for the circle. like so. So save it and head over to Unity. If we test it now, we get a purple circle and a little gap. So let's start by loop it, and the gap is closed. If we use circle fill screen, it will fill the screen. If we test it now, we get a purple circle and a little gap. So let's start by loop it, and the gap is closed. If we use circle fill screen, it will fill the screen. Now let's create the rope material. And use our rope texture. Change the shader to sprites default. Otherwise it will be really dark. And add the material to our line renderer, like so. And there's something wrong there. Let's change the texture mode to tile. And voila. Now it's time to create the code for our beam or line. I will call the component line. We want the line to be between the circle and the cogs, so therefore we need to be able to change the sorting layer or the drawing layer. This is just so they won't start in the center of the screen. Then we draw a line between the cogs. I want to be able to hide the line at first until we start moving the cogs. Now we will create a method that gives us the position on the circle, so we can place the cogs along the line. Now we will create a new method called setUpBeam that will place the cogs and update the beam itself. This is if we want to update the left or the right cog. And in update, we will be able to place the cogs. So the left mouse button will move the left cog and the right mouse button the right cog. If you want to use this in mobile, you have to use touch. Let's save this and head over to Unity. Let's start by creating the line material. Then we can create our line. Add our component. Give it the circle. Change the texture mode to tile and the texture or material to our line. We need to add our cogs. Now we are going to add 2 sorting layers. Middle one and top one. The line will be in the middle one. We can give them the cogs now. And the cogs will be on top. Let's make the cogs smaller. And play. And it works. So for gameplay, you just need to add a raycast or something here between the cogs to know if you hit whatever comes flying. That's all for me. Thank you.